Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats as we are about to start our next panel, Marketing for Brokers and Beyond, Performance, Branding and Survival. Please welcome the moderator, Nikolaou, Director of Contentworks agency, who will introduce the panel. Niki, the stage is yours.
Thanks, everyone. So here we are. We're going to be talking about marketing, brokers, and beyond. There's a lot of challenges to do with trying to market a brokerage these days. I joined the industry in 2007, so that's been a while, and there was a lot of changes since then. I remember when you had to, I was writing a lot for my company, and when I had to write into Google FX, essentially what I would get was sound effects for movies were the top results. It's a much different picture now. It's a much more competitive picture. You know, you used to have people clicking on banners. You'd put up an ebook and people would just click and download. You get hundreds of leads. It's a very different landscape. We're still selling the dream, but it's a very different marketing environment. So that's our topic for today. And I'm going to start by asking everyone here to introduce themselves.
All right, ladies first.
Hello. So I am Laoura Salveta. I'm working for CoinTelegraph. CoinTelegraph is one of the biggest crypto, blockchain and Web3 media publications in the world. So it's all very exciting. Slightly a bit of a sidestep to the Forex brokerage. However, I hope I have worked in this industry since 2011, so many years. And yes, thank you very much.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. Melissa Downs from Sydney, 26 Degrees Global Markets. We rebranded from Invast Global on our 10-year anniversary in May, so I'll have a bit to talk to about branding. And yeah, very pleased to be here.
Right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Andrew. I'm a finance professional with a bit over a decade of experience in the markets, and I represent Spotware Systems and cTrader, which is a top platform provider for retail brokers.
Great. So I'm really excited. A lot of experience here today. And I'm going to kick right off with the first question, which is the challenges that brokers are facing. There's a lot of them. I'm going to open this one straight up to Laoura.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it goes without saying that for, let's say, possibly in the crypto space, it's been a very bear market for the past year or so. Hopefully, everything will change in the year ahead with BlackRock and the ETF. So let's see on that side. We have geopolitical issues, so I feel that marketing strategies have to be very responsive to all of that. There's a lot of changes in digitalization and automation and AI. So I think that we have to be very adaptive to ensure that our marketing takes these tools and uses them to the best of our advantage and not deny them. And I think I'll let other people talk also.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, look, I'd agree. You only have to walk outside to see the challenges that we're all facing in financial services marketing. It's a very crowded environment. There's a lot of competition. If you look around the stands, there's a lot of same. So it's really hard to cut through, and it's really important to get that cut through with your brand and make sure that you are producing a quality product and making sure that you are standing out and you're instantly recognisable for your clients as well. So I think that's a really important piece for us that service, we're solely B2B, that service retail brokers and help them communicate our product to their end clients. So it's that intermediated approach, which is much more challenging and increasingly so, as you say, in a very fragmented environment. We're seeing a lot more fragmentation of channels, a lot more fragmentation of providers as well. So really standing out and making sure that you stand for what your clients need and being very client-centric is really important.
Actually, standing out, you've already jumped into my second question, so let's continue with that. And actually, you've done a brand change after 10 years of a very well-known brand to a completely different name. Do you want to talk us through how you did it, what you've learned, what you might have done slightly differently, and maybe some key insights on how you may manage such a major brand change?
Yeah, look, it's really interesting. So Invest Global, we're very successful. We have Japanese parent with 60-year heritage, been around for a decade, and we're actually had our best year yet. So we really wanted to build a brand that we could grow into a bigger brand envelope with, that was for the next 10 years. And we wanted to really leverage on our strengths. So I think with any brand, you have to do that analysis. What's your customer value proposition and how do you communicate that? And then look at your strengths and your weaknesses and your opportunities and your threats. And then you've got your classic 5 Ps of marketing, you know, the price, placement, promotion, people. And then you look at how you put those all together and come up with your sweet spot. So where is your white space in that environment and how can you leverage that and really dial up your strengths and minimise your weaknesses? So it's a long process. And it took us years, but we feel like we've landed somewhere that really encapsulates our strengths as being uniquely Australian, providing a product with an Australian spirit, but at the same time leveraging on everything that Invest Global had, which was a great reputation. And to your point around challenges in our industry, sometimes a rebrand can be perceived as a negative. What are you trying to hide? What are you doing? You know, so that was really important to make sure that it wasn't a rebirth of us because there was an internal issue or something similar. It was.
So how did you manage that? What was it through PR or was it through? How did you communicate that?
Yeah, very clear PR, very clear reasoning behind why we did it. As I say, we've repositioned and we've seen a runway and we wanted to grow that brand envelope so that we could become where we see ourselves in 10 years' time. And I think standing on our own 2 feet, really, you know, building out that 26 Degrees Global Markets with a fresh, brand new Australian spirit, if you like, and it dials up all of our strengths. So uniquely Australian, highly regulated environment, very friendly, we're known as being friendly, and also actually pioneering. So we will create products and solutions for our clients, being very client-centric, we're not cookie cutter. So providing that level of service, and we wanted a brand that actually resonated all of those brand values and archetypes, and so building that out was a challenge, but I think we've landed in a place that it has cut through, which is what we really wanted to achieve.
Something that you just touched upon, which was fragmentation of channels, and Andrew, that's something you and I were discussing earlier. Do you want to dive into that one a bit?
Right. Can I be a gentleman and ask Laura to start on this one? Don't worry, I'll jump in.
It's cheating.
So, I mean, fragmentation of channels in what sense? Like, there's... Go ahead.
Sure, to be a bit more specific. So there's a lot of channels in which brokers can now access to promote themselves, to differentiate themselves, to reach their communities.
That's what I was going to say. That is one thing, let's say, the growth of where marketing has been and where it's really, I believe, going, is going back to your first question of some challenges. So I think that our audiences now and our demographics are so different to what they were in the past. We're not looking for the guys who are able to just absorb an ad and think, oh yeah, I'm going to sign up with that broker, that's cool. No, that's not enough for them. They really search for content online. They see themselves as, let's say, mini entrepreneurs. And I know Andrew does a whole load of amazing videos that really relate to those audiences and kind of connect with those audiences. So you're having conversations with them. So when we talk about fragmentation, let's say something like Discord, you have your server and then you have a bunch of different channels in your server, which specifically align with the needs of the audiences and the community. So like fragmentation can be that, or it can be multi-channel marketing. So that's why I'm saying, but yeah.
Right, and now my turn. One of the, let's say, challenges I've noticed as a video content creator is how to attract more people to captivate them to watch the videos. A lot of brokers went into content, and there is a race for grabbing the market share. Okay, now everyone is trying to do it independently. Okay, and that might create issues. I mean, from personal experience as a content creator, I'm also following other content creators, and I see that their live viewers are missing. So in my humble opinion, this is one of the biggest challenges, captivating your audience in less than 10 seconds and make them watch the videos. If a couple of years ago, the videos were 60 seconds or a bit longer, now we're talking about 10, 20 seconds max.
Yeah, that's a big challenge actually, is the attention span, and as we've seen demographically, traders are younger, and they have a very different mindset in terms of expecting instant results.
Can I just bump in there? So what we see as well, in addition to that kind of video content creation, is content creators and influencers, and how effective that truly is. Now, everybody thinks when you work with an influencer, it has to cost thousands and thousands. But if you start working with nano influencers, so those are kind of audiences up to 10K, they still have big audiences, and you don't actually have to pay them a lot. And you're giving them extra publicity, and what you're gaining from them is their audience. So you can actually, you know, it's kind of like working hand in hand in order to grow. And then obviously you want to work with the big guys, but I'm just saying, like, you can start small. Even making your traders become brand ambassadors for you, and using communities for them to share their strategies and bring on other traders, and really getting that kind of conversion in that way. But people need to think a lot wider than just PPC, which is obviously so difficult for many brands, and especially unregulated brands. Yeah.
Influencers are really interesting approach to go for influencers. Obviously, a lot of regulators have now been kind of waking up to that and putting out new guidelines. Both SciSec and the FCA here have been doing that. What do you think is kind of key to identifying the right influencers to connect your brand to?
Can I jump in on this one? Thank you. Right, this is something I've been mentioning in the last few years. When I saw this trend of brokers working with a lot of influencers, the first thing I said was, right, is that specific influencer suitable for your business? Okay, because if that influencer, for example, promotes bathing suits, let's say, they've got no understanding, no idea about the markets. Short term, yes, it might work for you. It might give you a boost of clients, but what's going to happen long term? Yeah, it's very easy to, now with the online content, it's very easy to build an image, and it's as easy as it is to destroy it.
So you're telling me Khloe Kardashian doesn't trade crypto?
It's not my role model. All right, if I see Vitalik Buterin, yeah, I'd go with that. I'd rather go with that than with Khloe. Yeah, I hope they're not going to get upset.
So, Melissa, we're seeing a lot of shrinking of the budgets and, of course, rising costs, and there's a lot more pressure on performance marketing. As a CMO, how are you coping with that through, say, the shape of your team?
My team doesn't change. It might expand a little bit when we have an intern, but we have quite a tight team. So we've got 7 of us, which expands to 8 when we take on an intern over the summer. So our budgets are great. We have had our best year yet, and I don't see that particularly being an issue for us, but we are always laser focused on return on investment. So very granular in where we place our marketing spend. We look at our partners very closely, so we'll analyse geographies, we'll analyse percentage, we'll analyse cost per click. We'll drive all of that ourselves and do the metrics ourselves, and we quantify that, but we also do the qualitative as well. So we'll look at it ourselves and see if what the salesperson is telling us actually adds up to what's on the site, and a little bit of gut instinct too in terms of where we place our marketing spend. So we've always been conservative, no matter what. We have a company that relies on marketing to be, very considerate. Having said that, we test and learn, so we're not afraid to try new things, and I think that's really important. So A/B testing and maybe trying something a little bit outside of the box, and if it works, great. and invest in it. But if it doesn't work, okay, you tried it and you learned, right? So marketing, as we're all saying, is changing, if not weekly, daily. New channels pop up all the time. Channels that might have worked in the past may not work next year. And we always have a duty to manage our budget responsibly for the business, but we're lucky in that we've had a great year. So, we have to consider all different channels and be really targeted and be really thorough, like do the housekeeping, do the hygiene, check in with your media partners, negotiate rates and negotiate packages if you're wanting to work with someone. We spend a lot on events and marketing, and that is an area that has gone up. Things like expos and sponsorship events have all gone up. But in terms of budgets, we're not seeing that contraction in Australia. We're actually quite robust at the moment, touch wood.
I think a wonderful investment for any company to have is business intelligence, and the whole organisation being, firstly, of course, customer centric, like you were saying earlier, but also being data driven. And so everything can be analysed through your CRM, all your marketing platforms, your analytics, all of that. You can pull all that information together to really get a clear picture on where money is actually, where revenue funnels are coming from and where revenue funnels can be created. So when we talk about performance, it is about that. So it's about knowing that you attended FMLS 23 and those clients might not convert in the next month. However, 6 months, your time return on investment is there, So that whatever 50k budget, I don't know how much the stand costs, but let's say 50k budget, that you're getting that back in a couple of clients, so...
It also depends a lot what type of company you are. Yeah, if you're a startup, of course, you're gonna struggle a bit more. If you're a well-established company like cTrader, for example, it's a must. You have to attend these events. I'm a big fan of outside the box, and people that know me, they know sometimes I pull some crazy stunts. But you also have to try and diversify. I mean, tick all the boxes as a big brand that you have to tick, but don't be afraid to go to a country where, let's say, no one went before.
We'll come back on the country question later on. I'm going to throw a new question at you guys that we haven't prepared for. So if you were going to build your marketing team, what are the key roles that you need to start off with? Melissa?
Look, for us, content's a big one. I'm an ex-journalist, so I'm super focused on quality content, and content's king in this environment. You can't get cut through with SEO-laden content. I think it's slightly offensive to your readership that you want to engage with that are highly discerning in our B2B space. You would turn them off. So we're very careful about nurturing our audience, but also making sure that we're engaging with them at the right time with the right message in the right channel. So what are their headwinds? What are their issues? What are the things that you can help rub the rough edges off with a message that will help educate them? Compliance, we see changes all the time. How does that affect them? How can they understand that? How can we help them communicate issues to their clients? So that B2B2C focus with your messaging, but also making sure that you're not all boring. You've got to have engaged content. It's got to look fun. You've got to look like a company that people want to talk to. And we are. We're a really interesting, friendly company. So you've got to make sure that you build culture through your content as well. So in our teams, we've got a long way around answering your question, Niki. We all work on content. We all work on the metrics. We all work in the back end to look at how it all tracks. And we also test and learn CTAs, content, creative. It all goes hand in hand, to Andrew's point. It might be video. It might be a long-form thought leadership piece that drives traffic to your site.
How do you identify the right content? Like you were saying about the right content in the right place at the right time. How do you discover and what that is?
Look, that's your role as a leader. You have to look at the macroeconomic environment. You have to stay close to your sales team. You have to listen to the headwinds, being at these events, talking to clients. what are the issues that they're facing. You talked to briefly the macroeconomic and the geopolitical. These are all things that change our product appetites and risk appetites within our companies. So being across that and making sure that you are communicating the right message at the right time to the right client to help them explain it to their end clients, really important. That changes all the time.
So Laura, you've built marketing teams before. So who are your kind of core key today for fintechs as well as forex brokers?
So for me, looking ahead, let's say, of course, content goes without saying, and included in that is video going without saying. Of course, we know those are key drivers. I think community. It's all about the community. Look, it's organic growth. It's there just to be had. Going back to that sort of the younger gens who they want to share content. They want you to talk to them. They want those personalised messages. And then pulling into those kind of community drivers, using your email, using like going back to influencers and all of this. But I think there's so much, it's just so, I look at so many brokers and they're kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to do something on TikTok. And you're like, oh God, that's a whole thing, That can't be just one social media girl in the office who just got out of college and she's running all of these channels for you. Each of those channels have a very specific and very different approach and strategy that needs to be delivered upon in order for it to really work. So, and your Twitters and your Discords and they need to be handled on a 24-hour basis in order to really get the advantage from them, So yeah, I think it's about community, it's about BI, and performance marketing.
So your team is going to be full of community managers and kind of full stack scalable sort of team around that. Yeah.
And using AI in all of that.
We'll come back to that. I know that's a favourite topic of yours right now. Andrew, do you want to tell us about your dream team for marketing?
Right, it's definitely not AI. I still believe in humans, guys. I still believe that humans have a lot of things to say versus the AI.
Why is it a versus? That's the question. It shouldn't be a versus.
It should be an and.
It's making us superhuman. That's the whole point.
Well, we should persuade the content writers in Hollywood that all went on a strike. Yeah, when ChatGPT came out. Right. Anyway, so as Melissa was saying, the SEO, the written content, is there. It has to be there, for you to help you with Google rankings and everything. But again, there is a lot of focus on shorter and shorter and shorter videos on different channels. So regarding the team I work with, because I'm not the marketing manager, I'm the head of growth, so I work closely with marketing and sales, my suggestion to them was keep doing the SEO thing, because again, you have to do it, but start exploiting different channels, okay? Let's test what's happening. Deliver a few videos, see the reaction, and most importantly, listen to your followers. People tell you what they want. You cannot push something that people don't want. Listen to your clients.
I think one of the biggest blocks for companies when they do get into communities is how do you manage that, because it can be a very high level of response. And do you hire an agency? Do you do it in-house? Do you do a combination? Melissa,
Look, we're not retail anymore, but when we were, we did have, it had to be staff because they were often trading related questions. So you really do have to be across it because it can just get away from you. And you don't want to go dark either. You want to manage and jump on things. So for us now, it's not so much of a consideration in terms of managing those communities at a retail level. But I agree, it's really important that you do have someone in-house. I don't think an agency, unless you really trust them, can do that. That's a brand risk, in my opinion, and particularly in financial services when you're trading products. You want to be able to manage something quickly.
Manage or micromanage?
What are your thoughts on that?
So I would say a combination of both, because there is no way that you're going to hire a massive department for community management if you're kind of a regular size broker. So I think that there's a lot of things that you can put in place in order to avoid, as you said, getting trolled online. So you can put a lot of rules in place. You can push your moderators. They should have a certain play script, I like to call it, whereby they know what they should and shouldn't say and what's regulated and unregulated, depending on the brand, obviously, as well. Yeah, but from a B2, because you're obviously focused on B2B, there's a lot that can be done from Twitter, let's say, as handling community. And as you say, I think
Or
that...
X, as it now is.
X. So for X, obviously, you can very well profile your, I don't know, your CTOs and your C-levels and kind of upper management and get them really engaged with audiences. So for sure, that should be handled in-house. You don't want any scary things being said.
We're very big on LinkedIn being B2B, so we spend a lot of time in LinkedIn and we find it very highly targeted. Campaign managers very good at geographies, titles, seniority, right down to the granularity of companies. So we do a lot in that space with video, with content, with product-related thought leadership, even community. So that's how we build our brand and communicate with our clients.
Yeah, we've found within the agency that you need to, when we speak to different clients, you need to select the channels in which you're going to do your community on and try not to be everywhere all at once. It's completely going to get away from you. And keep that conversation as loose as you can, but moderated so that people aren't getting offensive, of course. So one of the questions that I really wanted to, one of the questions I really wanted to get into is about the growth areas for this industry, whether that's regional, demographic, or something completely different. Is that something that we can start with you, Andrew?
Right, yes. So in terms of growth, okay, again, it's generic point of view, yeah? I'm not giving investment advice in this one. In terms of growth, what seems to work really, really well is country managers. Okay, a lot of companies went to LATAM regions, yeah, and they faced a problem when they went there unprepared, yeah, with a bunch of English speakers. They realized, oh, we need to speak Spanish. So, working with country managers, I can see approval from the audience. Working with country managers that speak the language also creates trust. Okay, and trust is one of the drivers in business and in marketing. Okay, this is how I see it.
Speaking of trust, FTX ruined it for all of us. Yeah, I think it's all about really reputational management online. And I think media is a great way and PR is a really great way in order to kind of control what the narrative is about your brand online and really help enhance your sort of brand equity. So yeah, trust is a huge factor, which we're only talking about now.
You had to mention TFX.
I think also just knowing your customer again. We're in APAC, so Asian countries are very different culturally. Yep. Doing business in Japan, where we have a Japanese parent, they're very established. We're lucky we've got native speakers, but the language barrier and the cultural barrier is real, and it can be insurmountable if you don't have a knowledge or understanding or expertise or language in that territory. And as we continue to expand in those areas, it's very different ballgame marketing into those territories. So it's not something you can't assume that what works in London or Australia or Europe will work in Asia, because it simply won't. Right down to invitations to parties. You think it's simple, but it's actually not. When in Japanese, when you translate it, it's completely different because they don't even have the words that we have. So, it is 101. You're sort of starting from scratch. So you really do need to have trusted partners, and we're very lucky we do in Japan, and we're established and have a good reputation there. But it's a very difficult territory. So, your growth needs to be considered, and you need to make sure you're well resourced with the right tools to be successful in those markets.
Because as you were saying before, content being king, and obviously you're big on content. How do you cope with content in different languages, different regions?
Yeah, look, it is a tricky one because, they don't even have LinkedIn in Japan. They have completely different channels and they prefer email, which we all know we get 900 emails a day. As I used to work for the big banks, financial advisors, 900 emails a day. I mean, you open up your phone in the morning, how many of you actually read, right? So EDMs don't work really unless you're highly selective and there's something in it for your client. But up there, you have to select your channels, and a lot of it being B2B is relationship-based. So building that trust, building that relationship through events, through really nice merchandise, through considered cultural merchandise. The amount of work that we went into to find the right gifts for the Japanese
like
clients. Well, it had to be on brand, of course, because I'm having launched a new brand, but we have a beautiful brand called T2 in Australia, and they did a Aussie breakfast tea and a beautiful... So it was all on brand, and I won't bore you with the details, but, really being considered and consulting really hard with your team there to see what's appropriate culturally, because then you have to gift at a particular time of year another type of gift. A food gift. So making sure that's all on brand as well. So yeah, it's a completely different ball game. But if you do go in half cut, you will not succeed. You really do have to do your research.
So you really have to trust your team. Sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was approving. I mean, Melissa touched upon all the points. Culture, yeah, you need to understand the people's culture. This is one of the most important things. And again, if you're doing business at a very high level and you're expecting to close a business that's worth $1 billion or 500 million, then yes, you're getting closer to the finish line if you just bow, talking about Japan and other regions, and if you follow the culture.
I think that's where partnerships, using your IBs, using your affiliates, collaborating also with other brands. Look, we see, we're in an environment now where there's so many M&As happening. So I think that kind of collaborative approach is how you can hit the nail on being cultural fit in certain geos.
All right, great. Let's touch on some of our favourite tools as marketers. I'm going to start off with Laoura on this one. What are your favourite tools at the moment, Laoura?
Monday.com.
What else?
I think productivity tools are massive because I've had kind of quite big teams in the past, so about 50 people, and I think really keeping everyone on the same, singing from the same hymn sheet is really, really important. I think that I encourage my team, whether that be the video people, the content people, the strategy guys, whatever, to use AI. They have to use AI. If they don't use AI, you're already putting yourself on a back foot.
AI what?
I don't think it's just to help support, give you kind of a faster baseline in order to do your job better. So we still need that human to really kind of to take what's given out of the machine and make it human and make it real and actually execute it in a way that you are going to get a return. However, it just helps you do things faster and better. So yeah, I am a big believer in it, So, and then of course I go back to intelligence, being data driven is so important. There's also some amazing tools now which are predictive. So with regards to email marketing, when we talk about personalization, it can be so personal that it's the brand that you want, it's the headline that you want on that email, and it's specific to the time in order for you to actually place that trade. So, but not only that you can, there's platforms out there, I'm not going to sell anyone's business right now, but that can be very predictive and saying this trader will be interested in trading this product on this day. And that's how key our messaging should be in order to be truly customer centric, and get a return.
Melissa?
Yeah, look, we're really
Favorite tools?
actually spoilt as marketers right now. It's almost which platform for what. There's so many. There's, SEMrush, Ahrefs. I mean, we've got so many different UAT tracking. There's so many different tools that we can all leverage. But for me, it comes back to the fundamentals, the old school psychology, the behavioural architectural economics of the subconscious thinking of marketing as well. I think you've got to weave in that quant with the qualitative. You've got to really stay close to your teams. You've got to listen. You've got to look at the macroeconomic, as I said before, and you've got to put it all together and stack it up and make sure that it instinctively feels right. If you're the client, is that helping your clients solve a problem? It's one thing to have all that data and all that metrics, but if your message is irrelevant, yes, you can send it at the right time and you can have the right subject line, but if you're not providing a solution to something, you're not going to get the action that you want to drive. And so behavioural economics is really about all the subliminal messaging that helps you consider what your client needs and drive that action. And I think it's old school. It's as basic as, Maslow's
I agree.
hierarchy of
Honestly,
needs.
no. Honestly, I do agree. It's a combination of the quals and the quants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You see, and it can be done without AI.
But it's old school psychology as well. So marketing is a mix of science, it's a mix of creative, it's a mix of gut. And you've got to sort of put it all together and don't be afraid to sound it out with your teams as well. And, get ideas from your teams. Sometimes it's the quietest person in the room that has the best insights.
or from the community.
I think you're both basically saying pretty much the same thing. It's, the psychology, we're speaking to people and we can't forget that. And the numbers and the platforms are there to give us that step up and to give us that intel. But at the end, it comes down to what we call gut. But it's not really your gut instinct. It's years of knowledge of working in the industry and seeing how people react and kind of being able to predict how people are going to react to different campaigns. As experienced
also,
marketers.
what Melissa touched on before is I think any CMO has to be best friends with your sales, your chief of sales, or your head of business development, or whatever. And I think that's because for many years, and I mean, we know, myself and Niki worked in a company millions of years ago together, but sales and marketing were not aligned. They were nearly pushed to fight against each other. Yeah. And that's not the way it should be. You should be having lunch with your CSO.
Oh, I'll be at the Walrus later on listening, trust me. I think it's really important to stay close and to listen to what the issues are for your end client, but also, to help your clients. What are brokers talking about? What are their headwinds? How can you help provide a solution? And just sitting and listening sometimes reaffirms what you're doing, but it also might give you an insight.
Yeah, as Laura was saying, communicating with your team, is one of the keys in success. Many times I saw, again, marketing and sales being in some sort of war when they should be in the same office, working together. And also the sales teams, the sales people that have direct contact with the client, provide brilliant feedback about the product, about the client's complaints, let's say, if they have any complaints. And if your marketing team and your management is not willing to accept them and be willing to change them, then we're going to have a gap, a massive gap. And things, again, long-term might not work as we want them to.
Yeah. So we're just down to 1 minute, and I wanted to throw it out and see whether anybody had any questions for any of the panelists.
Go on.
No, it means we did a great job.
It does. It means you've covered every single thought and point that people have.
Right? No curious people. No brave people. Oh, there we go. There we have a brave guy. Go on.
Talking about investing in video, and you were kind of hinting at different videos for different audiences. And what would your strategy be around sort of investing the time and effort into, one video for a Twitter audience or YouTube Shorts or TikTok? Or, I mean, how would you divide the time and effort in something like that?
If your marketing team is competent enough, they can try and use the same material for multiple channels. That's why nowadays it's advisable to shoot your videos from 2 angles, not just one like everyone used to do until now, just a selfie with a phone. Use 2 angles, because from those 2 angles you can get a lot of material for the next 6 months.
And I'd also suggest taking stills, because then you can actually leverage the stills as well from your shoot, which is really interesting, that behind the scenes as you tease people to come and watch your video.
Don't make me say those 2 letters again, because I will. I think you can use AI to repurpose a lot of content. You can. So and by, once again, like, every brand has a certain value proposition and a bunch of, let's say, bylines or specific messages that you want to kind of put out there. So by using clips, whether that be real footage, animation, or whatever else,
Or AI generated.
with AI generated content, or like just text, I think that's a great way, you know. Yeah.
You were talking about communities depending on the different social media channels. So between Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., Snapchat, so the different type of posts in each, so it doesn't go the same for everyone. How do you assess if it's working, if it's not, the number of followers, does it count? How you can make it more followers can, increase the number of followers for each channel?
So I'm a huge believer. Look, let's say my core strength as a marketer and a CMO is I've always been a strategy person. So you should have as many channels of communication as possible without diluting it, as Niki said, by not being able to actually manage those channels. But if you do cross promotion and say, let's say, hey guys, on your Telegram community, let's say, you say, hey guys, we've got some exclusive content for you on Twitter today, go check it out, here's the link, or you can get enter the competition on Twitter, and then you say something like, we're hosting an AMA. Getting it all wrong.
Ask me anything.
AMA, ask me anything, obviously. Today, or like there's a special guest interview on Discord, hit us over there. That means you're building your audience on all the different channels, and you're delivering different valuable content on all the different channels. So I think that's a really good way to do it. And yeah, of course, like, your formats are going to be so different. Like, even for finance magnets, they're going to share the whole video of, let's say, this on LinkedIn. However, they might just do it still on Instagram, and then they might do an interview on another channel. So yeah, I think that's best.
I call it slice and dice. So if you're producing it, cut it up and distribute it into the channels as appropriate. So Snapchat, it might just be a picture, whereas LinkedIn, it might be a longer form linking to the actual video of today. So it's being selective, but using the same content, being cross-fertilizing, so you're not creating content all the time for every single channel.
And eventually you're gonna move the audience from one channel to another, because they will see something very interesting on another channel. You're pointing them that direction. Next day you're posting on a different channel. They're gonna come back and see that channel. So that's how you will increase the following.
And I think the one key thing there to talk about is that it has to be seamless marketing. So when we go to brand, it has to be really consistent. That's one thing that really annoyed me about X and Twitter. I was like, why are we still seeing that bird everywhere? And it's not, it just didn't make sense. You rolled out with this massive global launch and you're still completely diluting. It gave you this feeling of like insecurity about the channel, and obviously it's such a key place to
Probably a lot of internal politics going on there. Yeah. Right, I think we have to wrap up. Thank you, everybody. If you've got any more questions, come up and speak to the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for letting me get away unharmed on this one.